Hello and welcome to the video guys, it's Militated here and today I have 3 more outfit tutorials for you. Just before we get into the video, I'd like to say thank you to Rambo on Acid who has basically kept the channel alive while I've been away. He's been constantly helping you guys out by answering your questions pretty much every day. So once again, thank you very much for that. If you guys have an outfit which you'd like to send to me for a chance to be in a video, then please do make sure that you send it to militatedyt@gmail.com. You can also send it to my Instagram or to my Twitter, whichever you prefer. But with all of that being said, we are now ready to get onto the actual tutorials. So the first thing that we're going to do is head down to the mask store on Vespucci Beach. Then going to start browsing the hat section and we're going to go down to the bottom. Now you'll be able to see that there is a newly added category which is combat helmets. These are quite expensive, but for this video we're going to be purchasing the full quad lens. Of course you can select whichever colour one you want, but this is one I'm going for. Now we're going to start browsing the mask section and go to the headscarves category. Once again, go down to the bottom of the list and we're going to purchase the fall loose. Again, if you want to have a different colour then that is completely up to you. Either way, we're then going to head down to the nearest clothing store. We're then going to start browsing the pants section, go into cargo pants and we're going to purchase the full cargo. After doing that, we are then ready to back out of the pants section. From here we're now going to head over to tops. Now at this point we're going to go into biker cuts and we're going to start scrolling down the list. It might take some time because the menu does seem to be laggy since the update, but we're going to keep on going until we get to the full defender vest. Okay, now that we have that, we're going to back out of biker cuts and we're going to scroll down until we get to rolled sleeve t-shirts. We're just going to go down to the bottom and purchase the beige rolled tee. Obviously you can use the full version of that top if you want the outfit to match a bit more, but I just decided not to. Now we're going to head over to shoes and go to boots. From here you can select the desert tactical boots which I just went past, or you can use the brown tech boots which is what I'm going to be using. Personally I think that the brown tech boots work better with this camo, but you can select whichever ones you want. Either way, we're now going to head over to the accessory section. We're going to go into the gloves category and from here we're going to purchase the full tactical. Now just before we continue with the outfit, we're going to need to make sure that we save it. If you don't save it then you will need to redo part of the outfit, so just make sure that you save it to avoid doing that. We're going to back out of accessories and head into the glasses section. Simply go into sports glasses and scroll down the list until you get to the beige outlaw goggles. Once you have those on, we are then ready to leave the clothing store and head over to the nearest high-end apartment. Okay, so now that we are with a telescope, we're going to open up the interaction menu. From here we're then going to go into style and go down to outfit. Now scroll along to the one that we just saved and make sure that you equip it. Close the interaction menu and sprint towards the telescope. Press right on the D-pad as soon as you get near it and your character should just stand there instead of looking into the telescope. You should also notice that you are no longer wearing the mask. You're going to need to reopen the interaction menu and go back into style. Head into accessories and go down to helmets. Now press left once and it will equip the full quad lens. Once you walk away from the telescope, you should then notice that the scarf will then reappear. So now that we have done that, we're going to sprint towards the telescope once again, press right and repeat the same process. Now we're going to open up the interaction menu, go back into style and accessories, but this time we're going to go down to glasses. Now press left until you get to the beige outlaw goggles which we bought earlier on. Now you won't be able to see them too well at first, but if you go into the style section of the interaction menu and press up on the helmet visor, you will then be able to see the goggles. However, I prefer to keep them down as I like the look of it a bit more. So now what we're going to do is head into the wardrobe of the apartment and you're going to make sure that you save the outfit before we leave. Just as a side note, if the telescope in your apartment does not work, then use the telescope down at Del Perro Pier. Moving on, we're then going to leave the apartment and head down to the nearest ammunition. From here we're going to start browsing the weapons section and make sure that we've purchased a parachute. Now open up the interaction menu again, go into style and parachute and make sure that parachute is set to on. For this outfit we're going to use the tan combat shoot bag. So just before we move on, we're going to make sure that we head over to the nearest clothing store. Go over to the accessory section like we did before, but this time we're going to go into watches. Now we're going to go down to the bottom of the list and start scrolling up. From here we're going to purchase the pink gold Chronos Quantum. The colour of this watch just seems to work the best, but once you have done that, we're going to head over to the outfit section of the store. Once you have started browsing, we're then going to scroll down to the flight suits category and we're going to purchase the black flight suit. Our next step is to then leave the clothing store and head down to the Vanilla Unicorn strip club. We're basically just going to walk inside the strip club and you should then notice that the hose of the flight suit has then disappeared. You're now going to need to open up your interaction menu and go back into style. Scroll along to the outfit that we just saved in the clothing store and equip it. You're then going to leave the Vanilla Unicorn strip club and you should then notice that the flight suit hose is on the front of your outfit. Now it's very important that you don't get into a car at this point, so you're just going to walk over to the clothing store which is across the road. So for the last time, you're just going to make sure that you resave the outfit. Now one problem that you are going to have with this outfit is that the hose will occasionally disappear. I'm just going to quickly demonstrate what I mean by switching to a random outfit and then switching back. You'll notice that the hose is no longer on the outfit, so what you need to do is just equip it once again and it will then reappear. I'm not particularly sure why that happens, but it's just something worth noting. Last thing I'm going to show you just before we move on to the next outfit is a pretty cool feature of the new helmets. Firstly, we're going to open up the interaction menu, go into Style, Accessories and go down to Helmets. In the bottom right corner of the screen you should see that it says Activate. When you do activate it, it does give you some sort of thermal imaging. Then you can just deactivate it by pressing the same button. Right, so the outfit that is showing now is meant to be a bit more professional or some sort of Spec Ops or Navy SEAL, whatever you want to call it, but I just personally like the colours of it. This one is also a little easier to make. As we did before, the first thing that we're going to do is head down to the mask store of this future beach. At this point we're going to start browsing the mask section and we're going to go into the ski mask category. Now we're going to start scrolling down until we get down to the Skull Tactical Ski. Now this was added in the last update, so it's not that new, but it's still pretty cool. Now we're going to head over to the hat section and go down to the bottom once again. From here we're going to go into combat helmets and start scrolling down. So similar to the outfit that we just done, we're going to be purchasing the black quad lens. If you prefer, then there is a version with just 2 lenses which is a bit further down the list. But I like the quad lenses, so that's what I'm going to be using. Now we're going to head down to the nearest clothing store and start browsing the pants section. We're going to switch down to the bottom of the list and go into utility pants. From here we're going to purchase the black battle pants which have the grey knee pads. Now that we have purchased those, we're going to back out of the pants section and head over to tops. From here we're going to go down to the bottom of the list and go into utility tops. Once again go down to the bottom, and from here we're going to purchase the charcoal combat top. This next part is completely optional. If you prefer the tactical boots then that is fine. But now we're going to go into the shoe section, go into boots and purchase the black flight boots. Whichever ones you decide to go for, we're then going to head over to the accessory section of the store. But just before we do that, we're going to make sure that we reopen the interaction menu. This time though, we're going to go into inventory and body armor, and we're going to equip the standard armor. Back out of the interaction menu and go into the accessory section, and we're going to purchase the black desert scarf from the scarf section. Moving on, we're then going to go into the glove section, go down to the bottom of the list like we've done a million times, and purchase the charcoal tat gloves. Like last time, we're just going to make sure that we save the outfit before we continue. A lot of people seem to miss this step, so please do make sure that you do it. Now we're going to back out of the accessory section and head over to glasses. Back in sports glasses, we're going to purchase the Grayscale Urban Ski. With those equipped, we are then going to leave the clothing store and head over to the nearest high-end apartment or to the end of Del Perro Pier if you can't use the telescopes. Open the interaction menu, go into style and switch to the outfit that we just saved. Sprint towards the telescope and press right on the D-pad as soon as you get near it, and your character should just stand there instead of looking into the telescope. You should also notice that you are no longer wearing the mask or the helmet. Some of you seem to have a bit of trouble with that glitch, but just make sure that you try it a few times until you get it. Now in the interaction menu we're going to go into style and accessories and go down to where it says glasses. Simply equip the Grayscale Urban Ski and then walk away from the telescope. Just to show you guys again, if you go into the style section of the interaction menu and go down to helmet visor, you can then see the goggles if you put it to helmet visor up. So now that we have gotten all of that out of the way, we're going to leave the apartment and head down to the nearest ammunition. In the weapons section we're just going to make sure that we've purchased a parachute. We're then going to back out of the weapons section and reopen the interaction menu. From here we're going to go into style and parachute and make sure that parachute is set to on. For this outfit though, we're going to be using the charcoal combat shoot bag. The duffel bag would also look pretty cool if you happen to have that, but for now you're just going to make sure that you save the outfit for the last time and then we're ready to move on. So this last outfit is meant to be a bit less organised and looks like something that's just been thrown together, sort of like a rebel or something like that. I absolutely love the new bomber jackets that they've added into the game, and I will definitely be using them in the future. Firstly, we're going to head down to the mask store like we did before, and then we're going to go into the mask section. From here we're going to go into headscarves and go down to the bottom of the list. I wonder how many times I've said that this video. Either way, we're then going to go up until we get to the red pattern wrapped. Once you have that equipped, we're then going to back out of the mask section and we're going to head down to the nearest clothing store. So like we've done with the previous 2 outfits, we're going to start browsing the pants section. From here we're going to go into cargo pants and we're going to purchase the peach camo cargo. Of course you can select whichever ones you like more. Once you've done that, we're then going to head over to the top section. From here we're just going to start scrolling down the list until we get to the newly added bomber jackets. Now unfortunately you cannot use the open ones, you have to use the closed ones. We're going for the brown closed flight and then we're going to back out. Now head over to the shoe section and go into boots. From here we're going to start scrolling down until we get to the desert tactical boots. I believe that these work the best, they're not so tight fitting and they look fairly unorganised. Now we're going to head over to the accessories section of the clothing store. Go into the gloves category, go down to the bottom of the list and purchase the black tat gloves. Now you can select whichever ones you want, but I think that these just work the best because of the contrast. I'm sure you're now familiar with the process, but just make sure that you save the outfit before we continue. After doing that, we are then going to leave accessories and head over to the glasses section. Head back into sports glasses and start scrolling down until you get to the tan outlaw goggles. Okay, now we're ready to leave the clothing store and head down to the nearest high-end department or to the end of Del Perro Pier once again, if your telescope doesn't work. Open up the interaction menu and go back into style and go down to outfit. Now going to equip the outfit that we just saved in the clothing store and you should now have this scarf back on. Sprint towards the telescope and press right on the D-pad as soon as your character gets near it. You should just stand there instead of looking into the telescope, and you should also notice that you are no longer wearing the headscarf. In the interaction menu, go back into style and accessories and go down to glasses. Now keep on pressing left until you get to the tan outlaw goggles. When you eventually walk away from the telescope, you should then notice that the headscarf will reappear and you are still wearing the tan outlaws. Our next step is to then leave the apartment and head down to the nearest ammunition. Back in the weapons section, we're going to make sure that we've purchased a parachute and then back out. Now open up the interaction menu, go back into style and parachute and make sure the parachute sets it on. For this outfit we're going to use the tan combat chute bag. Head over to the top section of the ammunition and make sure that you save the outfit before we move on. Now that you have saved it, we are then ready to leave the clothing store and we're going to need to head over to the nearest yacht. I know a lot of you freak out when you hear that, but if you don't have a yacht, then make sure that you fly around in a public free mode session until you find a random one. You're also going to want to switch to a random outfit like the one I have on. Open up the interaction menu and go into style and accessories. You're going to need to make sure that you have no gear, glasses, hats, masks or helmets on. We're going to back out once and make sure that auto show aircraft helmet is set to on. We're then going to get into the helicopter which is on the yacht. If you don't have access to the helicopter, then make sure that you bring something like a Maverick. You should be able to see that your character has the pilot headset on through the front window. This next part can be pretty tricky, but just make sure that you listen to what I'm going to say. So you're now going to fly the helicopter to the back of the yacht and you're going to gently land it into the hot tub. You're going to exit the helicopter as soon as it touches the water. The helicopter won't always fly up like mine did, but once you do get out of the hot tub, you should then notice that you have the pilot headset on your random outfit. At this stage, we are then ready to leave the yacht and head back over to dry land. I'd personally advise going back to the mask store. You're going to need a motorbike for this next part, so if you don't have one, then make sure that you purchase one and request it to your location. Now open up the interaction menu and go back into style. From here, you're going to make sure that auto show bike helmet is set to on. Now we're going to get onto the motorbike and wait a couple of seconds until our character puts on a bike helmet. If your character doesn't put a helmet on, then make sure that you find a new session and try again. Get off of the motorbike and equip the outfit that you saved in the ammunition while your character is removing the bike helmet. The timing of that glitch is very important, but once you have it done, make sure that you head over to the mask store and save the outfit for the last time. After having done all of that, you have then completed the outfits. I tried to get quite a few different styles ranging from mercenary to spec ops to rebel, just so that you guys have a broader sort of selection. But thank you very much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please do make sure that you leave a like and subscribe to my channel where you can find a bunch of different outfit tutorials and glitches such as this one. If you have an outfit which you'd like to send to me, then please do make sure that you send it to militatedyt@gmail.com or to my Instagram, which is officialmilitated. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and a very big thanks to Rambo and Acid once again for helping me out while I was away. I do plan on making quite a few more outfits because this update is much better than the other one in terms of clothing. But until then guys, I'll see you in the next GTA Online video.